everybody. Good morning, everybody. It's Michelle Alcorn here from Atlantic Canada Cuts. And we are so excited. We have our guests zooming in, and we are celebrating a lot of great things today. And I see our guests are coming in. A little reminder, everybody hit your mute buttons, please. So many times here in Atlantic Canada Cooks, we have guests that zoom in. And hi to our YouTube guests that are out there watching. Well, I think today is extra special, and I know my mom's going to agree with me. And this is week 200. I have to look. 221. We're going to be celebrating bread. And I love it because bread is one of those things that is in every culture in the world to a greater or lesser degree, depending on which culture you come from. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But here in Atlantic Canada and across Canada, you will see bread eaten in the breakfast with some toast. You'll see lunch with sandwiches or whatever. And oftentimes that beautiful fresh bread is involved with our supper time as well. So we find bread in our Canadian culture is involved all across the culture. So we love that. It was World Bread Day this week. So we hope that you went out and supported a nice local baker. This is Copam Bakery here in Moncton. I can tell you this smells amazing. This is a sourdough bread. And it's a beautiful sunny morning here in Atlantic Canada. Look at that. So it's a beautiful sourdough bread. And we're going to be using that today in a bread bowl. We're going to use it for the bowl. So I'm really excited. We've done that on previous episodes, and Mom and I are going to be making one of our favorite, and that is a broccoli and cheese soup. It's a little thicker, and that's going to go inside of our bread bowl that we're going to enjoy this afternoon. I've also got this wonderful loaf of rye bread, and it's a little firmer, and this bread is actually what we call day-old bread. So it was actually baked probably 2 days ago on Friday. And we're going to be using this to turn it into a bread pudding. And that is a very traditional recipe you'll see here across Canada. It originated in the United Kingdom in Britain. And I think many of our family and our history has brought this over with us. So we're going to be turning this into a nice sweet dish. And I'm very excited about it because I'm going to be enjoying that with some great coffee. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Good morning. I see Shinobu in here from Japan.
Good morning.
Good morning, Shinobu. We have Conversation Club every week. And so Shinobu and I like to spend time together on Wednesday evening for me, Wednesday morning for her. And we were talking about bread cultures. So we're going to share some of what Shinobu and I learned from our classmates this week. But I think my mom's excited about this. Bread, again, is just amazing. Look at this beautiful cheese bread. And I'm going to turn this over. And hopefully you can see the way that it's got a hole in the middle, the way the baker rolled the bread, and then it puffed up and he topped it with all that beautiful cheese. Mom, you're going to enjoy that. And then this is what you'll often see in larger sizes as well. You can see all those beautiful sesame seeds. So we've got a bread or a little mini bread roll. We often will call these a roll. And often we turn those into sandwiches. But where all cultures have unique breads, we're also going to be talking about this beautiful naan bread. And this is a flatbread. And you're going to notice today that Michelle's not going to bake any bread. I'm just going to use the bread. Because there's so many great bakers out there. And thank you to all the great bakers in the world who get up at often 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning while we're sleeping. And they get all that bread ready so that when we wake up in the morning, it's ready to go. So we say a tip of the hat to every baker in the world, and thank you for filling our tummies with good bread. So these ones we can smell. I'm gonna get Mom to come up and join me here too. We're gonna get those that soup pot on, Mom. These are a naan bread or a flatbread. So that just means the bread is flat. So, and these are absolutely delicious. Smell the nice garlic in them.
Oh, yeah.
I like using these to make them into mini pizzas, or you can use them for a wrap. So the naan breads are absolutely great. And we're going to be making one of those. Mom's going to get the pot turned on here. Let's get this heated up. So what we're going to start with today is we're going to get our soup cooking. So we want to get that soup ready. So what we're going to do is just put a good amount of olive oil in the bottom of that pan. And we're going to get that broccoli and cheese soup cooking. But Mom, come on up here. We want to say thank you to all of you. It's been 4.5 years and 221 weeks. And this Friday night, we were very, very proud to say that Atlantic Canada Cooks and Atlantic Canada Language Academy have won an Albert County Chamber of Commerce Tourism Experience Award. And we're very honored by that. These are made here locally, some beautiful wood.
Yeah.
And we're pretty proud. I think I remember you saying you taught me everything I know.
I did.
She did. I have been inspired in the kitchen since I was a very little girl.
She was.
And by this woman, and this is a big honor, but this honor also goes to each and every one of you in the audience that come and join us every week or come into YouTube, follow us on our Instagram and all of our channels, and just be part of experiencing Atlantic Canada with us. And I want to send an extra thank you to all of the people that have cooked with us. Shinobu, you're here. Sammy's cooked with me before, and we talked about Jordan. And of course, the amazing Jawad Marksy. Without this, I couldn't have this great quality and everything. And he is in Tetuan, Morocco, and he's always here supporting us. And I've had the great privilege of cooking in his kitchen. And I think that'll be a good segue to talking about Moroccan bread culture. And we've got some great postcards. So for all of our guests, if you let us know your address confidentially, obviously, we're going to mail you one of these postcards anywhere in the world. And for the people here locally, we'll make sure that we give you one. And we've shared one of my favorite recipes on the back, and that's the maple mustard marinade, where, of course, we do suggest you use New Brunswick maple. But any maple will do. So thank you, Mom. Mwah. So a beautiful celebration. And we really want to thank the Albert County Chamber of Commerce and all the people that do so much volunteering. You know, the chambers of commerce exists around the world, and they're here to support our business communities. And they do a lot of work in sectors. So thank you to all the hardworking people, the boards, the directors, the volunteers that help out with the Chamber of Commerce. So that's nice and heated up. We're going to start the soup. Okay, so let's talk about some broccoli and cheddar soup. And I love broccoli. And this is nice, fresh broccoli. We always stop at the farmer's market. Yesterday was no different. We stopped, we got our empanadas. We ate those. They were delicious. But we stopped at Lewis Mountain Farms and we picked up some nice fresh onions and broccoli and some fresh leeks. In here, I have chopped garlic and I've got some leeks that I've cut up and some diced onion. And then, of course, this beautiful fresh thyme from my garden. So I'm going to give these to Mom. Mom's going to start with just simmering what's in this bowl. So we're going to give you that. Dump her right in. There we go. And we'll let you pull the leaves off the thyme. Oh, thanks. So Mom's just going to pull the leaves off that thyme. But we're going to start with the soup. And it's a broccoli and cheddar soup or cheese. I'm actually using 2 different kinds of cheese today. We've got some shredded cheddar here. And then on this side, I have some shredded smoked Gouda. Very, very excited about what those flavors are going to mean. So in the pot, we're going to have our onions, our leeks, our fresh garlic, 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, as you like. I think we say here, what it calls for 2, use 3. Maybe not on Michelle's recipes. And Mom's gonna put some salt and pepper in there. And she's gonna get those seasoned up. And we're gonna let the onions cook down so that they get really soft. We're not looking to caramelize them. We just want to cook them down a bit. And that's where we're going to start to build some flavor. The other ingredients that are going to be going into this is I have a few potatoes cubed up. And I've cut the potatoes quite small bite-sized pieces. It is a soup. So I'd like people to be able to put the potato in their mouth. So we've got about 1.5 cups of potatoes here. And then I have 2 cups of my broccoli. And I've left it into what we call a flowerette. And again, the same thing, about bite-sized pieces. And the broccoli is going to cook faster than anything else. So I'm actually going to be putting the broccoli in as our last vegetable. So when we build the broth, we're going to put the broccoli in last. So Mom's going to simmer those for about 10 minutes. And once those get cooked down just a little bit, we're going to add in some of our liquid. And what I'm going to be using today in my soup is I'm going to use a little bit of water. And I'm actually going to use a little bit of coconut milk. I don't want to add a lot of other dairy because remember, we have 2 cups of grated cheese here. So that's going to be a good amount of dairy that's going to go in. So we're going to come back to our soup here in just a few minutes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to get my bread bowl ready for the soup. So we've featured these wonderful sourdough loaves of bread before. They're a little bit denser bread. I like that about sourdough. And it's used with a little bit different baking process to get them like this. Hopefully you can see it's like where it bursts open here in this corner. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a nice sharp small knife. And I don't want to cut the bottom. And I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to put it in the loaf. And I am going to cut a circle around. So I'm going to end up with a bread bowl. And I love this bread. The bakers have, you can see the lines where they have put flour in and around this. And it sort of gives Michelle a place to cut. I can follow the lines on the bread. This is, I can feel how dense it is. And I hope you can see as I'm putting my sharp knife through it, I do have to put some pressure. So it's going to cut down through this. Now, this is something you definitely want to share with friends because one of these is quite large. So I've cut around it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my hand on the inside and I'm slowly separating the bread at the bottom. And the reason why I don't use a knife is I don't want to cut the bottom of the bowl. And these are going wonderful. You can buy smaller size ones for individual portions as well. There we go. Look at that. I love that. Shinobu big smile. And now we have a bread bowl. So one of the tricks that I do, and look at the size of the piece of bread that came out of the center of that. Right? And we're definitely going to be using this bread. I will slice that up.
Yeah, so we can dip with it.
And we can dip with it and we can do anything else, but beautiful.
Yeah.
What a perfect bowl, Mom.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully you see I'm wearing a white shirt and now I have flour all over me. So at least I look like I did bake the bread, but I did not. So that's the piece. I'm going to hold these up so everybody can see that came out of the middle. And it's like I have this extra loaf of bread. So we're going to set these over here. And those will be ready for what comes out next. So while mom's cooking that, I'm gonna get this other frying pan on here in the front. It's on a medium heat. Those look good, Mom. I think you're good to add the liquid. You've got 2 cups of water there. Those are cooked down absolutely perfectly right now. So mom's gonna add that water, and we need to get that back up to a boil. So the liquid is very hot. So I'm also gonna give mom the potatoes that can go into this at this point. And I'm gonna give her 1 cup of the coconut milk. So we're gonna let that come up, and we need it to get hot so it's simmering, because the next ingredient that we're gonna do is we're gonna melt the cheese into that mixture. And once the cheese is completely melted, we're gonna top it off with the broccoli. But the other ingredient that I have here, and I like adding this to my soup, it's got a nice flavor, but it also adds color, and that's some shredded carrot. So I just took a carrot and I used my cheese grater, and then I just shredded this carrot down. But because it's shredded, it doesn't take very long to cook either. So I'm going to reserve, and I'm going to put my carrot and my broccoli together here. And these will be my last 2 ingredients that go into that soup. I also use the orange carrot because it's a broccoli and cheese soup, and I used a lot of cheese, white cheese. So I want it to stay looking orange. So I'm going to use it for color, and I'm going to use it for flavor. So those ingredients are there, Mom. Once that comes up to a boil, we'll add those in. Sound good? So we're gonna get our oven turned on, which I probably should have done earlier. But we're gonna let the oven's gonna warm up. And now what I'm gonna make is a bread pudding. And bread pudding is absolutely amazing. So what we have here is a little bit of olive oil, and I've got a baking pan, and it's about 10 by 10 centimeters around. I put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of this baking pan because I don't want it to stick. That's really why. And I am going to take this. Mom, can you crack these 3 eggs just into this bowl if you don't mind? So we're going to be using some eggs in this. And I've got 3 nice fresh farm eggs that we got from yesterday from the farmer's market. And I'm just going to have Mom crack those into the bowl and take a fork and whisk those eggs together, if you don't mind. Thanks, Mom. So let's talk about our rye bread. And this again is it's a beautiful bread. See that baker has some flour on the top as well. I might have rethought wearing black today, but it shows off. It looks like I was baking the bread. So what I'm going to do with this bread is I'm going to cut a few thin slices, and depending on how much of the size you want to make, you can use anywhere from 6 to 8 slices of bread for this recipe. There. Yeah. Smells good. Hopefully you can see that darker brown color, and that's the rye flour that's in here. So there's not as much wheat flour in this particular bread. So what we're going to do with the ends of this is we're going to rip them up. And I want to rip them up into size pieces that are about like this. So a little bit bigger than a bite. And you don't have to be perfect with your size. So it's a kind of fun recipe. Great if you're cooking with your kids, get them to rip the bread up. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to put it, thank you, Mom, that's perfect. And in that cupboard, Mom, I think the vanilla is right at the front. I'm hoping it is. Here. Yeah, I just realized one of my ingredients that Michelle forgot to get out was vanilla. We're looking in Michelle's many spice cupboards, and I think it's a yellow and black bottle. The vanilla's from the Dominican Republic. So hopefully Mom can find that. I'm guessing the second shelf. So my goal is to cover the bottom of this pan just well with the bread. And you definitely want to use the ends. No luck? That's a crazy big spice cupboard everybody gets to see. And she's... Is it in here maybe? So the vanilla is missing.
Yeah.
We'll find it. We'll find it. Okay. So now you'll see the bottom of the pan has the chunks of bread. So that's gonna be pushed down. And this is gonna be our base for our bread pudding. I'm gonna take these extra pieces from my board. So the other thing that this calls for is you can use a little bit of melted butter. I've got some soft butter here. And what I'm gonna do is just put a few small chunks of the soft butter across the top. Show you what this looks like.
Flavor.
And that's flavor, exactly. And that's gonna just kind of melt through and add that nice buttery softness that we often say everything's better with butter. So we never said that this was a very slimming recipe. We have a lot of different things in there. There we go. So we've got our chunks of butter. Thank you, Mom.
Just hanging off.
I think I've got enough bread in there. So we've got the butter across the top. Now
A little bit more.
we're gonna add for this nice flavor here. I've got some beautiful raisins. See, these raisins are imported from Turkey. And now what I'm gonna do is just sprinkle the raisins across because we want the raisins. You want raisins in every bite. So that's kind of the trick. So make sure that you're generous with your raisins, but get them spread around. And you can make a lot of different flavors with bread pudding. I was reading one yesterday that actually used some pumpkin in it. And I thought, that sounds good as well. So we've got, and nuts, exactly. And Mom, you know what? I do have some nuts. So what we're gonna use now is we're gonna make a little bit of the mixture. We have our 3 eggs in this bowl that Mom has mixed together. And the recipe calls for a white sugar, but I am going to use maple sugar, of course. And I think that it sounds like, and I'm going to put about a half a cup of that maple sugar. So that's going to be nice and sweet. So I've got the sugar that I'm mixing in with the eggs. And the other thing I'm going to add in here is I'm going to add my milk. And we've got this recipe down. We're going to publish this recipe. I am kind of making it right now for about half the size. Normally the recipe would be about the double size big pan. So I'm using 1 cup. I think I need a little bit more bread.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that cheese ready to go in there to melt, Mom? Because that sounds like it's boiling really high. No, that's okay. The cheese still needs to go in and melt.
Oh, okay.
So we just, so that we're gonna add, I'm adding 1 more piece of bread because it looked like I needed more bread. So what we're gonna do now is Mom's gonna slowly stir that cheese in so that we can get that cheese, and we want to bring that down a bit, the temperature down, Mom. So it's not such a rolling boil. So there we go. We added 1 more piece of bread. It looked like it needed more bread. But in good measurement, I'll use more raisins too. So then we just put a little bit of all the good stuff. I'll hold it up so you can see what it looks like. So there we go. You can see all the pieces of bread. You can see I've got raisins everywhere. I feel like everybody's going to get a raisin, so that's a good thing. Put the rest of that butter on top. And I'm just going to give my mixture a stir because I want to combine that little bit of sugar in with the eggs. and the milk. It is really important that you combine this in a separate dish so that when you pour it over your bread mixture, everything gets through and you get all the different flavoring. But I know I found my cinnamon and I brought it over here. Here we go. Now we just need to relocate that cinnamon. Right in front of me. So I'm going to put, again, the cinnamon. I'm putting about a teaspoon of cinnamon. As we said, it's very good with vanilla in it. But Michelle can't find her vanilla right now, so we're going to leave that ingredient out. Now, cinnamon's kind of funny. It's hard to combine cinnamon really well in liquid, but we're going to get that stirred through. And now, as you see, we're going to pour this mixture very evenly across the top. And we want to make sure we're going to get a little bit on all the different pieces of bread. And it's going to kind of look like we would say a custard or the liquid at the bottom. I think that's a perfect ratio for that pan. So I'm going to hold it up. You can see that little bit of the liquid around the edges there. And you can see all the different pieces of bread. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my fork and I'm just pushing it a little bit so I make sure that all the bread
Mixed.
exactly has a little bit of moisture. No,
No,
that's actually the sourdough one.
Oh,
We'll eat that. There's a piece of sourdough bread sitting beside me, and she said, "Well, we'll just throw that in."
Could you?
I'm sure you could. You're right, Mom. Nobody would know.
Nobody know the difference.
You might get that one bite that tastes different. There we go. I think that's enough liquid. And it,
Look, don't you lose a raisin?
I'm losing a raisin. So we're gonna put that raisin in there. I do have one little piece of butter. We'll top that off with. So we're gonna put that in our oven, and this is gonna bake for about 30 minutes. It'll be done just at the end. Mom, here we go. How's that cheese? You slowly put it in, or?
Yeah, I slowly put it in.
Okay, so we need to get the temperature up on that one just a little bit more so that we can get that cheese fully melted. So bread pudding, that's as easy as it is. When you top your bread pudding off when it comes out, I'm going to have it with a nice cup of coffee. And I want to talk about my coffee today, right? I want to give a very big thank you from Atlantic Canada Cooks. And one of the things that we love to do here is promote local companies and talk so that we can educate you on all the wonderful things that we have available here in Canada. Coffee is a big deal in Canada. We love our coffee. And you will find many, many coffee shops now all around town. You've heard Shinobu and I talk about coffee number 9 in Lunenburg. And this is wonderful. We're going to big shout out to Aaron and the team at Expedition Coffee. And Aaron is a fan of ours on our YouTube channel and Instagram. And he had seen our coffee episode. He said, "Michelle, had I known you were doing coffee, I would have sent you some." And he did. So I am very excited because I have just taken my coffee grinder, fresh coffee beans, and I've got them ground down. The aroma is absolutely amazing. And I have made my coffee this morning with this. I think it's going to be a perfect to have with my bread pudding. So I'm going to be enjoying my Expedition coffee while I'm doing that. So this particular one, it's called Overland Blend. And I love it because it's a combination of Guatemala, Brazil, and Colombia. And it is a medium roast. And I love the descriptions of coffee. So I'm going to share in this one. It's fruit forward with the notes of orange and berries, followed with hazelnut and chocolate finish. This is a blend that works well as an espresso or for drip coffee or a nice cold coffee. So I'm on my second cup and I can tell you it's absolutely amazing. So thank you very much for Expedition Coffee. We've really much enjoyed.
I wish I liked coffee.
Yes, Mom says that. She goes, I really wish I liked coffee. Maybe we'll get her to try. Maybe the Expedition Coffee will be the one that Mom starts to play around with. I'm just going to move my award out of the way. So we don't want to get any food on that. So we're going to turn the front burner on while our things are cooking. I want to feature one other bread. And this is one of my favorite that I discovered in the world. But I want to talk a little bit about bread culture. We learned that in Nigeria, it's very much used for breakfast. And then again at dinner. Shinobu said it in Japan. Bread is very much more of an accompaniment in maybe a smaller part of the meal, or with tea is often done. And I think that's really fantastic. But you hear me talk a lot about Morocco. And in November, I'm going to be in person exploring some more of that amazing Moroccan food cuisine. But bread in that culture is an extremely important part. Bread is often like these pieces here are our spoon. So when you're eating your tagine or your beautiful dinners, you're using that bread. But there's another type of bread there, albeit they often call them a pancake, but it's another flatbread. And I know Joad is laughing. He knows it. His mother has made them. Milu, thank you. And hello to him, her and Hind. They have made these beautiful Msmen. So this one I have just taken out of the freezer. And one of my friends here in Moncton from Morocco has made these for Mom and I. And the thing about this bread is it's layers and layers that are all pushed together. So we've got a frying pan. There's no oil in the pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up. We've got a rear one. Nope. Actually, I'm going to slowly heat that up because we need to get our schnitzel. I am going to take my Msmen bread and I'm going to form it into a really lovely sandwich because you can use it either way. And we're going to make Mom a pork schnitzel flatbread with our naan bread. So the same thing with the naan bread is these are really wonderful when they're heated up in a dry frying pan. And it just makes a little bit of the bubbles pop back up again and just gives that bread a nice freshness. So a layer, right, Mom? It's a beautiful layer.
And it brings out the taste, whatever's in it.
Exactly, the taste and the flavors.
Oh, yeah.
So in our market shopping, which Mom and I love to do, soup, Mom, we can add that broccoli into the soup now. So we're gonna add our broccoli into the soup. Everything else is nicely cooked through. And that'll just take about 10 minutes for that to finish off. So what I have here, and thank you to Kurt Sausages or Kurt's Meats, is a beautiful pork schnitzel. And now schnitzel is very much German influenced. And you definitely, when you're traveling and here in Atlantic Canada, you'll see a lot of that German and Polish and UK influence. But in here, so you're going to see this is a beautifully seasoned piece of meat. And I know you can kind of see through it a bit because the unique thing that they've done is this meat is seasoned and then it's not fully ground, but they take and they tenderize it. So it takes very little time to cook because the meat proteins are all cut and broken down. It smells amazing with the unique seasoning that they put on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to give this a nice fast sear in the frying pan. So that's just going to take a couple of minutes to cook through. And bread, when we break bread with people, we're sharing good moments. We're sharing good food memories. And the thing about bread is, I think it's one of those things that we see as very much a substance in so many cultures. And I hope that you get a little bit more good bread in your life. But many of you know most of the bread I eat is gluten-free. So in the spirit of keeping something fun and fast that Michelle can eat, I've got a piece of this wonderful nip multi-grain bread. And I'm going to put it in the toaster. So I'm going to put a piece of bread inside the toaster. This is it here. Again, this one is already sliced for me. I like to slice my own bread some of the time, but they slice it perfectly, right? So what you'll see in here is the nice brown color. You can also see a lot of the seeds that are all across the top of that. So there's sunflower seeds and there's chia seeds, and it's just got a lot of the variety of grains in it. But what I really like about this bread too is it's very soft. So I'm just going to have a look. It's made with a combination of rice flour and tapioca flour. So, and then the seeds are sunflower seeds, flax seeds, poppy seeds, and quinoa. So lots of good healthy things. Not so much at school anymore. We've talked about this on previous episodes, but a really famous sandwich would be a peanut butter and jam sandwich, or PB&J. You will see someone write, do you want a PB&J? Peanut butter and jam, or peanut butter and jelly. And bananas, we know that. So we were talking about that on Conversation Club this week too. And I'm hoping, I don't know if Chanel done it yet, she can give me a thumbs up. I said she needs to try peanut butter and banana together. Check on that toast behind you. Oh, please, Mom. I'm gonna do a little bit of a spicier version of this today. We have our friends at Nutsmith in Windsor, Nova Scotia. And again, the fun thing is our friends at Expedition are in Falmouth, Nova Scotia, which means they're really close to our friends at Nutsmith in the province of Nova Scotia. Thank you. So we've got a nice, perfectly toasted piece of bread here. And what I am going to do is I'm going to take some of that wonderful peanut butter. And I love peanut butter. I can put peanut butter in everything. Canada is known, by the way, for one of the places to take peanut butter, put it in a jar and commercialize it. I think a lot of people realize that. So I'm going to use, and for those who joined us last weekend at Thanksgiving, we have this is called Colliding Cows. I think it's a good Nova Scotia nod today, Mom. We've got an extra nod to Nova Scotia on that one. You don't need to keep saying it, just make sure so it's sticking. Okay. Mom's just watching our soup. Oh, so I've got my peanut butter, and normally you would use maybe a strawberry jam. I am going to put this cranberry spicy jelly. I'm very excited. I actually taste tested this yesterday, and it's better than I thought. This is why I'm repeating it today. And I love it. It just looks like your childhood of nostalgia. We're going to hold that up because remember, the bread's a little warm. So the peanut butter is melting a little bit. And then that beautiful peppery jelly melts into it. It's so delicious because you get the sweet, and the peanut butter is not sweetened, but peanuts ground down have a nice flavor. The jelly that I put on, the cranberry jelly, has some jalapenos in it. And Mom, we did enjoy it last weekend. We're going to see. We're going to get Mom, that needs a bit more time. That's not good. It's a little bit longer. It's a little bit thicker. Oh, okay. Here, Mom. Give it a try. She doesn't always love heat, but I know she's gonna like this combination. And it's not that hot. The peanut butter cools down the spiciness in the jelly.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't mind that at all. Who knew?
Who knew?
You know
I
what's
know.
good is grape jelly too.
Grape jelly. Blueberry jelly,
Oh yeah, anything, any berry jelly.
jelly or jam.
Yeah.
And the difference is with a jelly, they put
Pectin,
a pectin in it to make it
really jelly.
a little bit more clear jelly, where
Yeah.
jam has a lot more of the fruit, chunks of fruit
Yeah.
and stuff in it.
Mm.
Amazing combination. Those of you here in Canada should definitely go check a couple of those products out.
Flip it.
We're gonna flip that over once. So in my frying pan, we're warming up that Msmen bread, and it's amazing. It's a little hot. And already, just that little bit of heat has those beautiful layers. You can see them where they can come apart. And we've got your flatbread. There we go. So that's ready. Switch that over. I'm gonna make the flatbread for Mom. Little did she know she's gonna get her lunch early today. So we've taken the naan bread. Again, it's in a dry pan. And that is gonna heat up, probably another 60 seconds. We just want to warm the base of it through. And I just wanted to double check because I'm pretty sure, yeah, for these, it's enriched whole wheat flour is the #1 ingredient. And then the typical things like baking powder. And in this, we've got some dried garlic and there's some herbs in the bread. I love it when I can get a bread that has herbs in it. It just tastes delicious. That the timer? No, that was the extra time one. This will be done right at the end. Your pork.
Yeah, it's done.
Oh, yeah. Woo! So the flatbread is warmed up and it just kind of puffs it up, just that nice little amount. This is a really fast and delicious dish. And that's because some wonderful baker baked the bread for me in advance. I had to bake the bread, it might take a little longer. So what I have here, and this is called a Bourguignon cheese. So it's just a really nice herbed cream cheese.
Yeah.
And you want to hit stop on the timer. Just stop time, don't stop oven. Cancel time, Mom. So we're going to take this and it should, it's going to melt into that flatbread quite well because we warmed the flatbread up just enough. And this nice thin layer of cheese adds even a little extra garlic and the other flavor that's on it, which was delicious. Good for cheese. We'll give her a little bit more cheese.
Okay.
She's smiling beside me, encouraging her daughter to put more cheese on her flatbread.
Oh, never hurts.
Never hurts, right?
More's better.
Where's better? Definitely, Mom. We're gonna move this over here. Bump this right ahead. And Mom's got this in a bowl, so I can't cut it. Can you put that on a plate if you don't mind?
Sorry.
It's all right. We've got our pork schnitzel that has just come out. It smells great. And we're just gonna get that onto a plate so that I can cut it. Thank you again, Kurtz. Mom's got that cooked absolutely perfectly. You can see the nice grill marks on it. And the thing about these is they're thin, and as I said, the meat itself has, Shell's gonna use a fork because it's hot, is been tenderized. So actually it falls apart really easily. So that one's gonna go right here.
Yours.
Thank you. First.
Cook well then.
I don't know if they can hear you, but my mother is saying that you need to keep the cook well fed. They're not wrong. They're not wrong with that statement. And as I'm cutting this, in all honesty, the pork schnitzel almost falls apart because it's so well tenderized. But what my goal is, I'm going to cut it into strips so that we can put it on to the naan bread. Cook perfect, Mom. Oh, yeah. So we're going to build Helen's naan bread lunch quickly. And I can also smell our bread pudding. That smells amazing. You know what it is? It's that little bit of cinnamon that comes through the air and reminds you of how great it is. So in this dish here, again, with local, it's the time of year now where our trees have all changed colors, and many of us that might have grown some lettuce and things in our backyards, most of it is harvested at this point. I have a few tomatoes hanging on, but for the most part, things have been harvested. So we don't have as many fresh greens, but we're very lucky. This is a company called Local by Ada, and I love going there because these are like little microgreens. They're delicious and they're great for cooking. So we have our flatbread, the naan bread. Got that laid out here. We put that nice cream cheese that has a little bit of flavoring on top. You can really get any cream cheese that you would like. Trust me, they're all, and you can just add your own seasoning to it. So what we're going to do, it's kind of like making a pizza, really. So I'm going to take half this schnitzel. It's a fun word to say. It's not an easy word to say for my English friends and English students out there. Schnitzel. There's not a lot of other words that we would use that way. So we've got that across. And now I'm just going to take some of these beautiful microgreens. And we're just going to sprinkle those across. Beautiful. And there what you have is a nice flatbread. Put whatever you want across the top of it. You can use any type of protein. You could use no protein. This would be delicious with some caramelized onions across it, whatever you would like. But that is delicious. And again, thank you to the wonderful bakers that have baked those in advance for us. So my last one is going to be my Msmen, which of course I just did pull out of the pan. And then we're going to bring our soup over to have it for our bread bowl. And I'm just going to have a look here, Mom. Oh, no, I can reach it. So my last trick for our bread bowl. So I used half of that piece of schnitzel to go onto my mom's flatbread. And I am going to do the other half for my Msmen. And I'm pretty much going to use almost the same combination. There we go. I tell you, when I watch my friends in Morocco make this bread, they're using their fingers on that hot pan. Bring this around. You can see the beautiful layers of the bread here. And you can see that hot steam coming off it. And I'm going to use very similar to what I did for the naan bread, is I'm going to take some of that beautiful cream cheese. And I'll tell you, in the mornings in Morocco, often you get some cream cheese or the laughing cow, as we know it here. And this is often used with jam. And you just put some nice jam on it, or honey. Honey is one of the other things, or you dip it with some beautiful olive oil. But most of the time when you're in Morocco, You'll see some of the Msmen or reef. I think I'm saying that right, Jawad. Is another word in different regions of the country. But again, it's all in a similar application. I want to get all that cheese off. I'm going to add a little bit different combination to mine as well. So I'm going to definitely use my schnitzel, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold mine more like a sandwich is what I'm going to do. But I'm being adventurous today, Mom. So I definitely want some of those microgreens in there as well. I know they're going to be delicious, but I like a little sweet combination. And I'm actually going to put some of the jelly, just a little bit of that sweet heat jelly inside of this. Ooh, it even looks good on it. But I know with the salty and the flavors that are in that pork schnitzel, that this is going to be, and look at that. We're going to be able to roll that up. And Michelle's got a very nice sandwich wrap that I'm going to be using. I'm going to take a picture of that, and then I'm going to enjoy it. But as we wrap up our last few minutes here, we're going to get our soup out and maybe put some of it into a bowl, Mom. I'm just going to get you to ladle some of it into this bowl. There you go. We're going to finish off by showing you our bread bowl, and we hope that you've enjoyed our episode on bread today. And go out and see your local bakers or learn how to bake some bread. And Michelle is looking for volunteers to come to cook bread with her, because that is definitely not my area of expertise. Just going to peek in here. Oh, boy. Ooh, smells amazing. I think our bread pudding's going to need that last 8 minutes as we wrap up our episode. Just going to get our platter over here. I am not going to put all of this in at once. Love it when I can get out the nice old dishes from my family. And this platter has had a lot of dishes on it over the years. It's probably about 80 years old or more. I think we said over 100, Mom.
Something like that. My grandmother's.
Right? So this was my mother's grandmother's. So yes, Mom, it has to be. Because Mom's a little over 80. So I'm pretty sure.
Really?
I'm pretty sure the plate means it's over 100.
Yeah.
And I love that we get to use this and enjoy this often.
Would be your great grandmother.
Exactly. And that's on the Olmsted side, right? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that gives you an idea how big that loaf of bread is. But remember, we're going to take that top right out of it. And what we could do is, Mom, you've had this where people have made like a spinach dip.
Yes.
Or a dip that would go in the middle of this bowl as well. So there's lots of unique things we can do. I'm going to set that over top, over there. So when we're putting all of this together, remember, when everybody gets to sit and enjoy this, you're going to be able to eat your bowl.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that what you're putting inside of it, and that looks good, is a thicker type of soup, where we've done it with chili.
Yes.
And different things like that. But here's the trick. Take some nice fresh spinach and put it around the bottom of the bowl. And what it does is, first of all, it's going to add some great flavor, because spinach is delicious and very healthy at getting our greens, as we say. And once we pour the hot liquid on top of that, it's going to wilt that spinach down. But it's going to add a layer of protection,
Yes.
so that the bowl doesn't melt away. But we're going to do a little trick. I'm going to put the whole bowl in the middle, because Mom and I aren't going to eat that till this afternoon. And if I poured the broccoli and cheese soup into it right now, this bowl would be very much soaked by the end of the day.
It disintegrate.
It would disintegrate
Yeah.
or be very soupy.
Very.
It would be a full bread soup. So hopefully you can see with that. This is what we will be pouring into it. We put it into a glass bowl. The broccoli and cheese soup looks delicious, Mom. I'll grab a spoon there. Smells awesome. But there we go. And there's the nice chunky soup. You can see the potatoes. And you can see the bit of orange from there. And then the cheese has melted in through. But Mom said a few minutes ago, she said, I think we need more cheese. So we might add a little bit more cheese to that soup. But
Yeah.
I know that the flavor is there. Ooh, look at that. It's very hot. And we've got a little bit of potato broccoli. Absolutely perfect. I do agree with Mom. I'd like to see that a little bit thicker with the cheese. But when we serve that this afternoon, which we'll take a short video of, we're going to pour that directly in with the
Bread and
the spinach and the bread and be enjoying that bread bowl. I'm going to set this down because I have to tell you, it's actually quite heavy as I'm standing here holding it. So I know that the bread pudding, I'm going to bring it out so we can have a look at it at the very end. And we want to say, as always, from our kitchen to yours, thank you so much for coming in to support. Next week's going to be Halloween. Little ghostly fun. I know Christina Pham from Vietnam said that she absolutely is going to be coming in to cook with us for the Halloween episode. She already has her costume picked out. I think you remember in the past, we've seen Christina come all dressed up in her costumes. We haven't decided what we're wearing yet, but we'll have a lot of fun with that, right, Mom?
yeah. Yeah, I will. I
Oh,
haven't decided what I'm going to wear yet.
this
Oh,
smells amazing. Wow. It's almost fully cooked.
oh, wow.
It does need just, well, actually, you know what, Mom? But I'm pretty sure you can still see it's cooking because I
Me.
can literally see on the edges of the pan
It's bubbling.
how that it's bubbling. But you see, it's puffed up. Remember, there was 3 eggs that went into there as well, right? So it puffed the bread up. You can see all the different pieces and the beautiful raisins. But I do want it to get a little crispier on the edges. So I think it might need maybe
5 minutes or so.
5 more minutes. But it looks amazing.
Oh, smells delish.
And it smells fantastic. When I serve this, you want to open that oven up for me, please, Mom? I want to get it right back in to the oven so that we don't stop that cooking process, right? We want to keep that going. We're going to set that timer for 5 more minutes. Here we go. Timers are your friend.
You're right.
But when I serve that, I'm going to take that and I'm going to drizzle a little bit of honey and I'm going to sprinkle some nuts on top of it to enjoy that with my coffee. So as it says, keep calm and keep on cooking. And as Mom will come over here, we just really want to say thank you to all the audience that comes out every week to support us. And then we hope we have enjoyed your bread episode. And look at that, Mom's grabbing our award again. And hopefully you'll see us this time next year celebrating this all over. But thank you so much and cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, Greta, Shinobu, a good coffee, cheers. Right, Dion. Yeah, look at that, everybody.